Hey, good morning, my people. How are you all doing this morning? Hey, I'm here in Michigan, as you know, and it is freaking finally summertime. I mean, I think today we're going to have our third day in the 80s. I am so excited about that. That is awesome. Hey, I'm going to jump right into this one because I think this is a really good topic. And as the title says, we're going to talk about perception versus reality, specifically in the field of real estate. And I'm going to give you some examples of what I'm talking about later. First off, have I grew up here in the city of Detroit, okay? And when I was in eighth grade, one of the cool things that we did as eighth graders was we all got to go to Boblo. Now, many of you all have no idea what Boblo is, but basically it was an amusement park that we could go to from the city of Detroit. We can jump on a boat, take about a half an hour, 45-minute boat ride down the river to a little island in Canada, which was Boblo, and stay there all day, have a bunch of fun, and it was just a really cool thing to do. It was even cooler if you could do it with your classmates that you're about to matriculate from or graduate from eighth grade with. So on this particular day for my eighth grade trip, my aunt would take me to school. So woke up, was with my aunt, and as I'm about to head out, okay, I'm an eighth grader, so about 13 years old. So I checked my face and I realized that I had a pimple right here. Yes, I did. I had a pimple right here. I was just absolutely, I was beside myself. I did not know what to do because, again, I'm 13 years old. I'm about to be on a cruise ship in my head for the next 12 hours with all these gorgeous young girls. And I could not possibly have a pimple right here because that would just affect everything horribly. So, so I'm freaking out. And my aunt comes around and she says, "Jimmy, what's your problem?" So she's a doctor. My aunt's a doctor. And so, you're told to trust doctors. So I said, okay. So I told her what the problem was. She looked at it and she said, oh. Of course, this did nothing for my psyche. I mean, now she's doing the old thing. I'm totally freaking out. And she said, okay, Jimmy, here's what we can do. We can pop it. And if we pop it, then it'll go away. You don't have to worry about it. So I said, are you sure? Because, popping pimples, that just didn't seem like a good idea. It just did not seem like I would get the result that I wanted, but she's a doctor. So I said, okay, I'll do it. So she went, and so we went to the bathroom, and after about 5 minutes of her squeezing pus out of my nose, or pus out the pimple, she popped the pimple. And then she took this petroleum jelly stuff and put it on the nose to cover it up. Now, keep in mind, I had not looked in the mirror. So I'm thinking my issue solved. I go have a good time at Boblo. We go off to Boblo on the boat, leaving there. We're coming back. And the funny thing about Boblo is or the boat anyway, they had on the third floor was a dance floor. And on the dance floor, they had it surrounded by all these mirrored walls. So I happened to walk by a mirrored wall on the way back. And as I'm walking by a mirrored wall, I couldn't help but notice a big glob of blood and pus glistening on my face. Well, what had happened was when my very nice auntie squirted the pus out. Well, not all of it came out, and it continued to leak out throughout the day. And of course, it was trapped by the petroleum jelly junk that she smeared on my nose. So I had a big hunk of pus and blood that was just like coagulating right there on my nose all freaking day. Of course, I find this out like 10 minutes before we're getting off the boat to go home. Totally, that my two things. So here's the lesson we're going to take here. Here's the reality. The reality was that little bump was not very big. It wasn't. I perceived it as being huge, but it wasn't that big a deal. And after my aunt applied her solution, I think her solution was probably worse. But I didn't know about it because I hadn't perceived it. I didn't see what the issue was, right? So we have two, that's a good representation of perception versus reality. Okay, so now how does that relate to real estate? Well, the same thing happens. Okay, in real estate, as a real estate appraiser and real estate valuation appraiser and realtor, one of the things that I get to do is I get to see the difference in perception versus reality every day. Now, this is not we're in summer now. I get to see it even more because I get to deal with a lot of investors and first-time home buyers or even second-time home buyers. And there is huge differences in the way that I have to speak with them because of their perceptions. And, we're all talking about the same reality sometimes, but their perceptions really color the way they see situations. I'll give you an example. So, say for instance, I'm dealing with a vacant house. The water is turned on, boom, and all of a sudden the pipes are leaking. Okay, period. So now we have leaky pipes in the house. Now, let's just deal with two different perspectives here. As a retail buyer, I think leaky pipes are absolutely the worst possible thing that could ever happen. I'm going to have mold in my house. It's going to cost a gazillion dollars to repair. And this is just the horriblest thing ever. I can't possibly live in this house. Oh, it's horrible. Right? So the value of that house plummets. Right? Because if you got to deal with that problem, you're gonna want to pay a lot less money for it. Okay? And that's true. If you're going to deal with that problem, you're going to pay a lot less money for it. Now, let's look at it from the investor standpoint. As an investor, when I see a house with leaky pipes, let's keep it real simple. Let's say it's a one-story house where all the plumbing is in the basement, easy accessible, and it's just a supply line leak. Okay, it's an older house. These things happen. From an investor lens, I look at that and I say, okay, so I've got about 40 to 50 feet worth of plumbing supply lines that I can replace. And we're good. There you go. No issue. So the only issue becomes how much are the plumbing supply lines and how much is it going to cost to replace them? Well, if you make a quick trip to Home Depot, you'll find out that 100 feet of PEX plumbing line, which is pretty much what everybody uses now to move water throughout their property, costs probably it's like $50 for 100 feet. Yeah. I'm sorry, $50 for 100 feet. Think about that. $50 for 100 feet for a PEX line. If you figure it'll cost, another 2 to 3 times that to have somebody else do it, replace it. So you're looking at under $500 you can replace the entire supply lines for the entire house. That's not really that big a deal now, is it? But if you don't have the education, the experience, and just, the same level of interest, it's going to be a really big deal. But same situation, two totally different perceptions. So as you're going through this year, especially for my investor friends and my homeowner friends, look for those easy problems that you can solve like that, because it really does matter, right? And it can have a big effect on your bottom line. I hope that helps. Talk to you later.